75% of the population as generators, generating their energy in a way that isn't feeling good to them. They're just doing it because of the shoulds, because of the conditioning. And that's why we get disease. That's why we get burnout. That's why we get so many people going, I'm so exhausted from a day at work. That shouldn't be how it is.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. Today on the show we have Bethany Taylor, the human design expert and the empowerment coach. Welcome to the show, Bethany. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm just great. I feel like the sun is shining, the life is beautiful, everything is just great in my life. So I feel like I really want to pass this energy to anyone who listens because although the times might be hard, we can still maintain this high vibe, we can still maintain the vision that we hold for this world, and I truly believe that everything is happening for the reasons. So I'm just radiating this positivity to all of you guys, and I'm so excited to talk to you because I am super, super curious about the human design because, as I mentioned before we started recording, some people are just like looking at me and they're like, "Oh, are you a manifestor generator?" I'm like, "How the hell do you know already? Like, you just met me,
Yeah.
And so I just had one session of human design, so I don't know anything about that. That's why it's really exciting for me to talk to you. But before we jump into all these different types and human design, how it can help us and all these things, I would love to hear a little bit about your story and also why you chose human design as one of the main things that you're doing, because I'm sure there is a story behind it. So I'm curious to hear about it.
Ooh, it's like when people ask my story, I'm like, wow, there's been so many versions of me that I'm like, which one? Like, wow. But I mean, I would say for the past 3 or 4 years has been like my main stepping into the identity that I am now, like stepping into my identity, let's say, not the conditioned identity that, we grow up trying to fit into the box. So I'll start pretty much like with last year. I've been in the entrepreneurial world, and that was when I was triggered into kind of awakening to there being more. And then last year, I actually had a near death experience in which I broke my jaw in 3 places. I was in a motorbike accident. And yeah, it was a long ass process. I was in Bali, I was away from home. I didn't have I just got here, so I didn't have like any soul family around me physically. Thankfully, I had my social media who were also my, non-physical soul fam. So yeah, like I had this chance to evolve. And again, I struggle to call it an accident because it really did catapult me into who I am now, what I'm sharing now, like furthered me on that path. And it was funny because I'd found human design about 3 years before that. And it was like what you just described. Like, I know this, but like, I don't know this, but like, there's so much information and I don't know like which way to go with it. And then I was reinitiated into it because I was at home for like 4 months, just healing. I wasn't allowed out because I had an infection and I was just like in a cocoon. And it was when it found me again, and I fell into kind of like the information again, and I realized that I had an open spleen center, which is like the center of intuition, immune system, well-being, fears. And it was then that I realized that I was going to the hospital and I was giving away my power to the hospital because they were telling me like certain things and I was believing it and I was embodying it and I was making myself sicker and the infection wouldn't go. And then the moment I used that wisdom, turned it around and started to come back to who I was, my energetic blueprint, I the infection went away like literally within days.
Wow.
So that's why human design
Wow,
is
that's
like,
so interesting.
and pairing it with the NLP as well,
Wow.
the subconscious work, because I was able to rewire my mind in the belief that, oh, I had an accident, I'm a victim. And it was more of the, okay, this is happening for a reason. I'm going to share this one day, thank you, gratitude. And it has, like, this is why I'm here right now with you sharing what I'm sharing. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be
Mhm.
here. So it's that full
Mhm.
circle, right?
Absolutely a blessing in disguise, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
It is an amazing, inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing. And I just want to mention to everyone who doesn't know anything about human design, almost like me, is that the open center means that you are receptive to the energy, right? From the outside to your center. Whereas the defined center means that you're generating from the center. So if you have open center, that means that you're receiving energy to the center. That in this case, if it's spleen, you can just be, let's say, you can be influenced by others in the specific areas of your life if your center is open. But that's so cool. So how exactly this wisdom, right? Let's take this as an example because it's a beautiful example. So it is not like we are defined in a way that, okay, this is how it is and we cannot flip it around, because you said, okay, I flipped it around completely because I know how it works. So how exactly did you use it to then flip it? Because I don't really understand how, in terms of like, is the human design something you can, um it's something that is your essence and this is how it is and then you can just like navigate it, or is it something that you can change in a way
Yeah.
when you know about it?
So, in effect, the way that I describe human design is that we're all a soul, right? We have this spirit, that's our spirit, and our spirit isn't our, it's not our body, but our vessel, our vehicle is what human design shows us. So, human design is basically like, I always use the idea of, say, we are cars, okay? We're a vehicle, and you're a BMW, and I'm an Audi or whatever, and you've been using the Audi manual your whole life, and you're like, well, sometimes this works and like sometimes this doesn't work, and then I hand you the BMW manual and you're like, ah, like now I do it this way. That's exactly what the human design is, where it shows you your unique energetic blueprint. So how you communicate best, how you make decisions, where you intake energy, where you project energy, where you may be susceptible to conditioning. So that then it's like taking back that wisdom and control. Like a lot of my clients, they say to me like, this is triggering because it's stuff I've already always known, but it's also like that confirmation that I'm not weird. I'm not this. I'm me, right? It's like I
Hmm.
navigate this way because that's how I'm supposed to navigate, and I'm trying to fit into some shoes that aren't mine, right? So it really is that
Hmm.
beautiful, you're just giving back your power so you can, and I always explain it, it's a lived experience. So you're not going to just know it and then it's like ding 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 done. It's like it's an experiment, it's a lived thing. So you're going to be testing, you're going to be maybe, going back into old patterns, but then you're applying the wisdom, and over time you start to navigate as you, embodied by you, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. So in this example of the spleen, how did you like use this information?
Right.
What did
Okay,
you
cool. So yeah.
reprogram?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I was going in and I had this infection and it wouldn't go away. And the doctor was kind of like, we have no idea. They gave me like six different types of medicine. Nothing was getting rid of it. It was here, and they were worried it was going to be bone disease, and they were worried it would go into my brain. And they kept telling me all of these things. And I was going to Google and I was, oh my God, I like bone disease, like da da da. And when you use your mind for that, of course, then you grab it, you're holding on, you're attaching to these narratives that aren't yours. So when I figured this out of, oh, I'm susceptible to be conditioned by these kind of narratives, I was able to see them as just narratives instead of mine. And I was like, okay, that's not my story. And I went in and I was like, listen, like, this isn't my story. I choose to heal. And I don't know what you guys are doing, but like, we're going to find a solution. And I was like, and you know what? I want to do this holistically. So, yes, I'll take the antibiotics. But if you don't start, and like, I navigated it my way. And I was like, I'm not going to just keep trying your medicine anymore. Like, you either find a way, you take a biopsy, and you listen to me and my intuition, or like I've got to go somewhere else because this is getting serious now. And then that was when they took the sample and they were like, cool, like we've found it, because all of my reports were coming back negative, that there was no infection when there was, because we could see it. So it was like this weird thing. It was like this, it was meant to happen for me to uncover this information, kind of thing, it was so divine. It was,
Hmm.
yeah, like looking back, I'm like,
Wow,
it was
that's
horrible, but it was
amazing.
so needed.
Of course, and I also see it like that because I personally have been struggling like maybe 2 years ago with digestive system issues, and obviously
Mm,
because my inner child couldn't digest some traumas of my dad
mm,
leaving in childhood, and for me it was like the biggest blessing because, of course, I was in pain every day for months for some time, right? But it has helped me see how to heal exactly, and I feel like I'm a better coach right now because I know exactly how it feels to feel like a victim, to feel like, oh, I'm done with this healing already, or anything else that came in my journey. Now I'm able to really help others to be like, okay, you are healing. It's just another layer and another layer. And you, if you just stick around and heal it more, you're going to get out of it. Because
yeah,
look at me, I was in pain every day. And it's just so inspiring to be able to go through this and out of it, right?
yeah,
Especially in such a profession as a coach or a healer. So it's actually a really, really beautiful story. But I would really love to know more about the human design now, even more than at the beginning, because it sounds great. So first of all, where did it came from? Because I know that it came from kind of like your date of birth, right? I mean, the
yeah,
specific maybe planets or specific energies that were around is kind of like something linked to astrology in a way,
yeah.
maybe. So can you tell us a little bit
Oh,
about like where it came from, and
yeah,
also like what are the types? Because I know that it's the types, and
yeah.
what the design is telling us about. Because for people who don't know anything about it, it might be challenging to understand. Like,
Yeah.
but what?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to absorb. A lot of people that I speak to is like they've heard of it, but then it's just become it's a very masculine system, so a lot of people just get overwhelmed. But the way that it was made is basically a guy called Ra Aru Hu. He's got such a unique name. He's sadly not with us in the physical realm now, but he basically spent 7 years navigating this process where he channeled a lot of the information, like the information dropped in, but he used the astrology system, the chakra system, the Hindu Kabbalah, the I Ching, which is the Chinese book of changes. It's like an oracle. And then neutrinos, which is the energy of science of energy, like just particles moving and shifting and making form, which is we are neutrinos, like you are a collection of particles of energy that chose to come into a form which made you, right? So what happens with the human design chart, when you look at it, you'll have your chart and then you'll have numbers down the side. And what happens is that this is made up of two charts. So there is a chart that's formed 3 months before you're born, when the soul is supposed to implant into the body, into the fetus, right? And that is your kind of unconscious personality. That's like given to you when you embody a person. Um, the other side of that is your conscious personality, which gets gifted at birth. So when you're born, that's what you take on, that's what you grow, and that's what you implement in terms of what you learn from in this physical world. So that shows you all these different elements, and a lot of it is what the planets are doing when you're born. So a lot of the transits affect us more than we will ever know. And I mean, I'm not very much into astrology, but human design is like the collection of them all. So if you use human design, you're going to know what's going on in the world as well. So then in terms of the types, we come into the world and there's 5 different types. We have manifester, we have generator, manifesting generator, reflector, and projector. So, in terms of these 5 types, the most common type is the generator and manifesting generator. So, they make up, I think it's around 73 to 75% of the population. And what's really funny is that generators and manifesting generators were the builders. You're a manifesting generator, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because if you could feel our energy, we're fast. We're very energetic, like we're go, 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 we're
very.
talking. And we are the builders of society. So if you look around you at the society, 9 to 5, do, don't rest, keep going, all of these like, conditioning things, that going to school, we're there for 8 hours a day, and that's okay for us because we can actually handle that amount of energy. We're kind of like this battery, this full battery that needs to use the battery to the depletion at the end of each day, and we go to bed feeling satisfied. However, what's happened in society is we're not responding to what lights us up, because we all have a strategy and an authority. Strategy is basically how we respond to the world, we navigate best in the world, and our authority is how we make decisions. But what we've got right now is 75% of the population is generators, generating their energy in a way that isn't feeling good to them. They're just doing it because of the shoulds, because of the conditioning. And that's why we get disease. That's why we get burnout. That's why we get so many people going, I'm so exhausted from a day at work. That shouldn't be how it is. I've worked 8 hours today and I feel energized because I'm doing something I love, right? And I'm sure you feel the same when you're really like into that thing. So that's the generator. We're
Yes.
not so different, manifesting generators and generators. And then the manifester is like 9% of the population. So these guys are like, they act by informing because they're very powerful. They're described as like the universe is literally working through them. So they'll get these energetic urges in which they act on these urges, and it's basically like channeled information. But because their aura is so powerful, they can come across as quite repelling to others. So as the generator is like a magnet, the manifesting generators kind of like, you experience a kind of block with them sometimes, and that's to protect their power from the external. So they're here to be like the leaders, they're like, let's get stuff done, because they get these downloads. And that's why it's 9% of the population, right? Because having that, it's like that speciality breed that can come in and kind of like get stuff moving, and then the generators pick it up and run with it. So they have this repelling energy where it's not so much that you meet them and they push you away, but because they hold so much power, it's there to protect them. So I have a few friends who are manifestors, and the guy that I'm connected with is a manifestor, and sometimes they can be very misunderstood as kids, because they come in and it's like you don't even see it, you feel it from them, because they are this energetic kind of power being, and you automatically feel like you're kind of, "Oh, like I don't know what to do with this person." So a lot of bullying happens to kids that are manifestors, a lot of kind of being left out of situations, because when you hold that power, people are like, don't want that because it's triggering to them. So they
Hmm.
really are a lot of coaches, a lot of leaders are the manifestor, sorry. So then we also have the projector, which is 19% of the population, and they basically are the guides. Like, I like to describe projectors as the old souls. Like, they come in and they're the guides, and their strategy is to wait for the invitation. So they're basically honing in on these crafts, and like they're really good at getting real good at something, and then they will be invited in to, for example, a podcast, for example, to share their knowledge. And then when they're invited in, they're able to guide in the way that they're meant to be here. But a lot of people I've spoken to who are projectors, they're these old souls. They're always like, they know what they want to do, and they're very much misunderstood at times because they have a perception that like so many people don't. So these are amazing. My business partner's a projector, and working with her is just, it's incredible. They really are beautiful guides when invited in. And then our last type is the reflector, which is 1% of the population. And these guys basically have completely open centers. So where we said the centers, if you looked at your human design chart, it's the little shapes. You have 9 shapes in your chart, and they'll either be colored in or they'll be white and open. If they're open, you're open to conditioning coming in, you're open to influence, you're open to energy coming in. I like to describe it like you have a shop, and it's like your doors are constantly open and people can come in and like pick up all your things and like move them around, and you're just like, like I don't know, I want to like shut it. So when you know about this open energy, you can kind of put up these protection energy filters. I call it filters. You can have a filter where it's like, oh, let me like filter out what's mine and what's not. So these reflectors, they're completely open, so they're always mirroring energy, and they're always absorbing energy. And this can be hard for them when they don't have that kind of self-awareness, because they don't know who they are. It's like, who am I? Like, I'm this person when I'm with her, but I'm this when I'm with him. And like, where's my sense of self? But the thing is, they don't have it. Like, they don't have that energy to tune into. So for them, their real gift is to reflect, to take in the energy and amplify it back out. And for them, their authority is to wait a lunar cycle. on big decisions so that they can sample the energy throughout the transits and then be able to make a decision. So imagine being told that as a reflector, 1% of the population, that actually the way that you've felt your whole life, it's not wrong. It's like that beautiful confirmation that, oh, okay, like I see who I am now and I'm not so lost after all, right?
Wow,
Yeah.
this is great. I really love it. And I have already so many questions based on what you just said. Because, for example, for reflectors, is it like they have all the centers open or just some of them?
All
Or
of them.
they are completely just all of them?
Completely open. So
Wow.
no, so when you
Wow.
have defined, yeah, when you have defined centers, so if you have a defined one, you'll probably like you have the channels as well, which is it's more advanced human design. It's what I go into in my one-to-ones, like specific channels. But this is like communication between your centers. So you'll probably have some of these channels defined. So a reflector has zero of these defined and zero channels. So there's no communication between energy. So can you imagine how that feels?
No.
Yeah. My
Honestly,
best
no.
friend
And
is a reflector, and she had a real hard time for a while, and then now that she knows this, she's coming into herself. She has some amazing gifts because the veil between energies and the realms is very thin for them because they're so open, right? So they can draw it all in, and like drawing that in is like other energies too, not just human energy. So they're very special. Like we call them the unicorns in human design because it's like, what the hell, like wow.
wow,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. But so, do you feel like all these reflectors are usually the highly sensitive people? These are
Yes.
empaths that you would call
Mm.
them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because even as a kid, it's
And
like
do you
they're.
feel?
Hmm?
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, like as a kid, imagine, like you're just amplifying all this energy, and it's like, who am I? And you don't know that actually for you it's not about sense of self. It's about being able to know which energy feels good to you, which people to let in, and you're actually just bringing in all of these different people that a lot of the time they have a lot of kind of connections in their childhood, in their younger years, that don't serve them because they don't know how to set those boundaries between energy. And then when they find the people that benefit them, that they can amplify their energy in a good way, they start to tune into their gifts you know
Hmm. Okay, so because when I'm thinking about it, for example, just based on my own experience, if I would, for example, as a manifestor generator, I would date a reflector,
hmm
wouldn't it be like this person would be so confused when it comes, because I feel like my energy is very intense, I can really influence someone with my energy because I'm just like like a
yeah,
bomb of energy. And so do you
yeah.
feel like it's healthy or not for a manifestor generator, for example, to be with a reflector? Because maybe, yeah, as you say, like for the reflector it's not really about finding the sense of self, it's about reflecting the other. But I feel like if I look at very empathetic people that I know, they usually want this sense of self, right? They want to be
Hmm.
in their own space. They want to take time to discover what they want and what their decision and their needs and their desires are, rather than just going with whoever else is feeling something and then they go with that. So how does it work when it comes to like couples or just friends, right?
Yeah.
With all these different types, is there like a most aligned type, for example? Because if I imagine, like for example, recently I've been seeing this guy who's I look at more enneagram, which is a typology of personality.
Uh-huh.
And he's an artist, so artists are usually very sensitive, very empathetic, and they
hmm
can feel other people so much that
yeah.
then it can skew their decision about whatever they are doing, because they are so sensitive that they take
hmm
other people's decisions as their own. Because if I'm excited about going somewhere, he might not know if it's my excitement to go there or if it's actually his. So then he has to go
yes.
for an hour or two by himself and then discover, okay, what do I want? And so
Yeah.
I feel like for me personally, it wouldn't be the most, let's say, comfortable relationship to be in with person like that, because I'm fast. I want to decide fast and just be with someone who is like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Or no, actually, I don't feel that, rather than taking 2 hours to decide for himself. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
how does it play out when it comes to human design? Do you feel like there are types that work together, or do you feel like maybe I have a different approach to it, and the reflectors just should be with manifestor generators and should just reflect and just go with someone else's flow? Like how does it work in your
So with
opinion?
reflectors, it's not really so much about them going just being like, "Oh, okay, like no energies, never mind," you know? It's more about being able to tune into knowing which energy serves them best. So, for example, my best friend that when I lived in Vietnam, we found out she was a reflector, and what we noticed with us is that I we triggered each other a lot. So I would move forward, I would generate, I would start doing, and then she would be like, I can see my potential there, but like, am I supposed to do that? But like, I don't want to do that, you know? So it was like highlighting to her what she desired, but it was also kind of like confusing because it was like, but I don't want to do it that way. And then she started to tune into the fact that she can go to past lives, she can feel past life energy, and that is when she started to realize, oh, this is my gift. So it's sampling other people's energy and being like, oh, that one feels good. I like being in this energy of this person. What is this highlight? Because again, like the centers are one thing, but she still has all of her gate, like all of her stuff. So she still has like that type and she still has like some other information. So for her, it was about feeling what's good. So I feel like with types and especially in relationships, it depends on the awareness of the people. So if you've got an extremely aware reflector and an extremely unaware manifesting generator, you're going to have that generator projecting energy all the time, moving. Like, you know, all that energy is going to be hitting the reflector, and the reflector is going to be like, oh my God, there's so much. But if you have both awarenesses, that manifesting generator can be aware that, you know, this person is easily absorbing energy, maybe to understand their own centers of, okay, I have a fixed head, that means I can project questions onto people, let me be aware of that so that I know which questions I'm projecting and which I might have to keep to myself, you know? So it's very much the awareness. I mean, even manifestors and manifesting generators, to know that the manifester has to inform. So I let the guy that I'm connecting with inform me of what he's doing before he acts, and I inform him so that he knows my actions before I act. So that, and it's not so much asking permission, but it's his way. And also I know that he's an emotional authority, so I know that it takes him time to make decisions. Same with me, I'm exactly the same authority. So our emotions can be sometimes quite like vroom vroom, and it's like knowing that when you're in the high or low of that wave, not to trigger further because they need that process, and maybe just to pull back. So it can be really great for relationships because when you know the person's energy, you can treat them better. You know, you can understand that, like, okay, this is how they make decisions, and like let me honor that. Or maybe they're more susceptible of being influenced here, so let me not use that against them. You know, because you can manipulate this way as well, but like obviously that's not the way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there is no such thing as, for example, this type would work perfectly with this type. It's just about like being aware of how you work
Yeah.
generally with the energy. Because yeah, I just want to mention one thing for all the people who don't know about human design is that how I was having a conversation with a friend, my friend Jordan, and he is into human design. I had one session with him and he said that human design is like how your energy goes from you to the world, not like a chakra system like
Mm.
up and down, but like from you to the world and from the world to you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how do you affect others, right? What is your aura really?
Yeah.
How do you emit energy from
Yeah.
yourself and also receive energy? So that's actually very
Yeah.
interesting to know about these reflector and projector. And do you feel like if there are, for example, two manifestor generators, if they have like an enhanced power of manifestation, for example, or do you feel like it kind of like doubles up?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I have actually found is that when I've been around other manifesting generators, especially, yes, it's amplified, especially if you align. You know, like of course, there's plenty generators, so you're not going to align with everybody, and that then dives into the gates of like where are your channels and where are they bridging you, because it goes way deeper than this too. Of like we have certain channels, and sometimes we have half. So we might meet someone who bridges that split, and then we feel drawn to them, but then sometimes attached to them. So it can be toxic or it can be healthy. So for some of the people I work with, I've lived with, and I'm moving in with a friend of mine who's also a generator. And when we're together, it's like, whoa, like we bridge a lot of gaps together. So we create this like energy portal, and it's beautiful. So yeah, great. Like if you can know that's what happens around certain people, you're going to put yourself in their energy more often. It's like mentorship. I only do business coaching for generators and manifesting generators, because I'm like, my business strategy is a mix of my business experience and me and my human design. So
Mm-hmm.
I can show you the business part in terms of being a generator, because you're going to have the energy to do so. But if it was a projector, they're going to go, that's way too much work for me. They're going to go,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not. I want to take a nap just looking at your to-do list. But I have the energy to do it. So me and you may be good in a team, because we have that energy. So then we go and ask the projector for their insight, but we do the like hard work, like we do the lifting, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I understand. That's actually so cool to know, and I can feel that around different people. I feel amplified or not. Right?
Mhm.
It's kind of clear to me
Yeah.
energetically how it all works, especially with parents. Right? Then you just
Oh, yeah.
get amplified or rather dimmed sometimes as well, or
Yeah.
just triggered and like, oh my god. But yeah, that's just a fun fact. But I wanted to ask about like. Other things interconnected with human design, like for example, do you find that most of the reflectors, because they are so sensitive, might be more introverted versus extroverted, and more of the generators and manifesting generators are more extroverted? Is that interconnected?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, because they might feel the need, if they've struggled with energy, to protect their energy, right? So then they might be like, you know what, I'm not gonna put myself around so much energy. I mean, even me, I'm quite introvert. You wouldn't think it, but I am, and that also plays in with, you can see that what your environment is in human design. So my environment in human design is caves, right? And I literally live in a cave. Like the way that my house is built, it's like a cave, and it's this selective environment where it's like, I'm gonna be in my cave and I'm gonna let people in, but I get to select who comes in, and I am very selective of who I let into my home, right? And I love being in little cafes where it's enclosed. And when I found that out, I was like, ah, now I don't feel like such a freak that I don't want to go to big parties, because I'm so susceptible to energy, right? So again, it's like that
Mm-hmm.
confirmation of, oh, I'm not strange. It's just the way that I am, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, that's amazing to know that you're susceptible to energies, right? But what if you don't want to be? Like, what if you are gonna be like, okay, I'm done being so susceptible. So, do you, for example, then put some kind of energy armor or energy bubble or whatever? Or what kind of methods do you use? Or what kind of methods also do you recommend for all these reflectors who are so open, right? And maybe sometimes it's too much for them. So
Mhm.
you probably have been working with many different people. So what is your advice?
Yeah, so to be honest, I only have one person I know that's a reflector, but what I've seen in terms of this like energy protection, let's say, because again, even as a coach, if I was to work with people and I work with deep topics, like some of this stuff is painful stuff, if I was to take all of that in, I wouldn't be able to. I mean, when I first tuned into my life's work, I actually saw a clairvoyant, and she said to me, you're going to do great things. You're super intuitive, you're going to help so many people. However, you have all of these black sponges on you and you need to clear them. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, all this black energy. She was like, you're taking so much pain and so much energy from others, and you can't even help yourself because you're trying too hard to help everybody else. And like, this is the thing. And I like to see it as like a filtration system. So when I work with people now it's pretty instantaneous that I can release what's not mine, because I know what is. I know how I feel. But this is why I merge subconscious work, and this is why I merge NLP, neuro linguistics, because the mind is the thing that decides like all the questions, the pressure, like, should I be this, like, what if I'm this, and like that conditioning. So if you can really understand like which thoughts are you, which thoughts are from somewhere else, which thoughts are from old experiences, then you're able to go, that's not me now, that's not the higher self me, that's not my intuition, it's not mine, you know? And of course, it
Mhm.
takes time, it's a process, but that's pretty much why I merge the two. It's that mind and body connection so that you can clear the mind and tune back into what the body feels like and what you feel like. So you can tell when I ask certain questions, I'm like, that's not mine. That doesn't sound like me. It doesn't feel like me. So it's not me. And immediately I can release it. It's taken years, of course, but you know, if you're on this path, then after a length of time of doing this work, you're going to get to the point where it's more natural for you to be able to release rather than hold on to these things that aren't yours.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
from what you just said, I understand that first step is to get awareness of yourself and who you are and really feel your energy. So for all these sensitive
Mm.
people, it's like first go and close yourself in your room for a few hours and or a day maybe and just like meditate in the cave for 20 years. I mean, I'm just exaggerating now, but first like get clear on your energy, right? And then after you get clear on who you are and how you feel and what you want, you can go out, and then if you feel other external influences on you, you can take it or leave it in a way, and you can
Yeah.
release it. So the pure awareness of this is not mine can help you just let it go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like also, you know, a lot of open centers, like you see your open centers, it's like, I'm broken. But actually, what human design explains is when you know where you're susceptible to conditioning, it's actually your greatest source of wisdom because you could give me an opinion. And if I'm open in that area, I could take it in and go, I quite like that perspective. Let me take that perspective and maybe navigate that way and like learn from that. So then it becomes what you can use and like alchemize into your own energy, and you benefit and you learn from it rather than just being like, oh, I have to be this way because I'm absorbing it, you know? It's being like a filter. It's like a water filter, you know, like you're bringing in this stuff but you're filtering out the sediment, like all the stuff that you don't want. It's like, okay, I'll leave that, but I'll take in the good stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really really cool. I really resonate with that, and I feel like that human design really makes us even more aware of how important it is to select people you are with, or you
Mm.
are really
Oh yeah.
meeting and merging your energies with, whether it's business, whether it's family, whether it's friends or whatever. Because as you said, we have these channels of energy that if someone has another, like we have one half open of the channel and someone has other half open, it kind of like merges together and the full channel can be open then. And
Yeah.
so we can be really conscious of that and then check everyone that is close to us, what they are bringing up in us, right? So what kind
Mhm.
of qualities, what kind of energies they might amplify or not.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is so cool to know, because some people might be like, okay, when I spend time with this person I feel quite drained, or when I spend time with this person I feel so uplifted, and like, what is it? But the human design is like a um manual for that. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
telling us exactly, okay, this channel between this center and this center is now filled, right? So now you can amplify this specific qualities. And I think it's so cool. That's one of the biggest things that I think I got of this one human design session that I had, because it's like, okay, if I have open let's say third eye center, right, and I meet someone who is super intuitive and super open in there, I mean like super generating a lot of energy from their third eye,
Yeah.
I can have these qualities of seeing beyond the ordinary side as well when I'm spending time with them, right? And so that's
Yeah.
so cool to know, because then it's like, okay, what do I want to bring out in myself and in my life? What kind of friends do I want to have? Which kind of centers I would like them to have open? And of course,
Right.
not to just select based on human design the people that you're around,
No.
but it could be a great thing to see, right? Because with some people maybe you're gonna be like, okay, now I have awareness of this, so I cannot expect from this relationship, I cannot expect that these qualities and these energies are gonna be brought out, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a cool awareness tool, as I see it anyway, to just know, okay, this is what I can expect, and this is maybe what I might not expect from this relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why honestly, it's like when I meet people, I'm like, could I just take your birth data, please, and the time of the and where you were born? And they're like, oh my god, here she goes again. And I'm like, well, I need to know. You know, because I mean, it's not so I can be like, I don't want to be your friend, but especially if you're close to me, I want to know how you make decisions so that I can treat your energy with respect as well. You know, like knowing your partner's human design, it's so knowing your kid's human design, because as a kid, if you're being told what to do when your actual strategy is to inform, you're going to be like, wait, I don't get this, you know? So if you know that about your kids, especially, you can help them grow into themselves way sooner than what happens with us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That's great. I
magic.
freaking love it.
Good
It's
stuff.
so, so cool. I freaking love it already. I'm even more curious about human design right now. So I'm going to explore this topic again on the podcast for sure. But I would love to talk about your trust method for a moment, just to let people know what it is, because we almost need to finish. But I'm really curious about your own method. So tell us about it,
Yeah.
please.
So, yeah, I mean, when I had my accident, kind of I was like, I know I'm going to share this. I know I'm going to help people, and my way of being has always been going against fear. Like I have this like fear into freedom on my wrist, because my first ever program was called Fear into Freedom, because I've never really seen fear in the way that the collective sees it, you know. I see fear as a kind of confused primal response, you know, like just because as humans, yes, we have evolved so much, but it's in this much time. So we're still holding a lot of our ancestral primal instincts, which fear is one of them: the fear of death, the fear of being cast out of the tribe, the fear of being attacked, right? And this comes through nowadays through social media, you know, being not left out of the group, whatever. So all of this comes through, and our nervous systems are triggered, and we apply all these past experiences in the same way we would as an attack. So when I had my healing journey, I realized that I'm really good at navigating this and explaining how fear actually is, and how to lean into fear and see it as, I always say, like, fear is your expansion cue. Resistance is your cue to expand, to lean in and say yes, right? So the trust method, when I was kind of going, how do I put all of this into a human tangible thing, you know, I was like, I don't know what to do, because it's here, but like, how do I make it here, you know, so people can understand it? And it always came through in the word trust. And I was trying so hard to find this really snazzy name, you know. And I went into my bathroom one day and it was written on my mirror lengthways like an acronym, trust. And I was like, there it is. So trust is an acronym. So it stands, yeah, like divine guidance. And this happens all the time with me. Like it'll be written, like I'm just given all these messages. And yeah, so it was, the acronym is transmute, reprogram, unlearn and uncover your unique design. So that's the human design part. Surrender and detach, and then trust and transform. So my intention with these modules is that the transmute is kind of moving what isn't serving you anymore, like how to shift your emotions, how to understand fear for what it is, how to navigate emotion, because emotion is actually just a catalyst for creativity. So when we can see that, we can start to embody more creativity, we can come back to ourselves and have a less emotional time, because we know that it's birthing something, it's a birthing process, right? So that's the transmute, like really shifting the kind of you now to where you want to be and what tools you need to get there. The reprogram is the mindful stuff, so like going into the mind and like shifting all of the stuff in which we've been conditioned in, and you know, seeing which programs are old software and need to be updated, right? And then unlearn and uncover is unlearning what you've been conditioned in and uncovering your design so that you know what your body works like. I get so excited talking about it because it's like my baby. And then the surrender is the detachment from, okay, I know who I am, I know my energy, I'm going to detach to like the how and the when, and let me just be myself, and then everything else will come in as a result. And then the ultimate, you know, transform, like really trusting that we're all part of that plan. Like I have a few hypnosises planned that dropped in, like I channeled, and one of them's called the Renegade of Light, which I haven't written yet. Like it's still gestating up there, you know, like, but it's going to be so powerful. And I just keep getting these drops, and like I only record modules when the drops come in, you know. And we have these integration periods in between, like 2 weeks in between each module, so that you can really take the time, you know. Like I'm not just going to give all the information and people are like, "Ugh," because there's such deep it's deep work, you know. But yeah, so
Mhm.
far with my clients that are my first clients in the program, the transformations they're having already, you know, and just the element of having like-minded community around you as well, who all are in this kind of intention of transformation. It's been powerful and it's been beautiful confirmation. So yeah, that's the overview of it.
This sounds freaking great. I love everything. I love every step and every acronym for that. It's amazing. And yeah, I feel like having community is so powerful. And that's why we are, this SoulFam podcast is only first step on our journey. Me and my best friend, Ricky, we are creating the SoulFam app that is going to be like a social networking
Ooh,
app for conscious people. So SoulFam is just the first, stepping
wow.
stone on this path. So yeah, thank you for being a part of it as well.
Thank
And thank you for
you.
sharing
Thank
your energy. I
you.
have one really quick question because you just reminded me of your near death experience, and I'm just super curious. One last quickie question. Do you feel like, first of all, you are way more open to these other dimensions of reality because of your near death experience? And also, how did it feel for you?
Yeah. So the thing is, since I've been little, I don't actually have many memories from being a kid. The only memories I do have is being really confused at why the world is the way it is, and then being obsessed with crystals at a young age. I was absolutely obsessed with them. I just remember having these crystals, and then I kind of yeah, detached from it. And I've always known that I was like, I would always wonder, like, why am I not good at like that? Why am I not good at that? But I'm meant for something. Like, there's something that I'm meant for, and I always knew that with certainty. And before my accident, I was kind of like pushing to know more. Like, I want my intuitive gifts to come. Like, why are they not here yet? Like, I want to be like that. And I'd been told from clairvoyance, and I was like, but when? You know, like, come on. And it's that, it's attachment, isn't it? There's no surrender there. So I was shown, because I was really navigating outside of my body, I was like always looking outside. And I feel that because the way that my accident happened was I collided, I had a big smack, and I was left unable to. And it's really funny. I have a tattoo here that says, there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen, my intuition. And it cut through the word voice, my scar, right? And I broke my jaw, and I couldn't express myself for 4 months. So I was like, that's divine. And then, yeah. So after I came through it all and the lessons jumped in and like all of the downloads came through, I started to notice that, and this is actually in my human design, my communication theme is the now. So you'll ask me a question, and it's better for me never to prepare. It's just, it drops in, like sometimes I don't know what I've said afterwards. I have to like watch a recording and be like, what did I say? Like, what did I talk about? Because it's pure channel through. Like, we're all channels, but it's allowing whatever's meant to come through you, instead of like keeping it small because of judgment or whatever. So I think when that happened, there was an element of surrender that I had to, open myself up to, of this is divine. Like, if I'm meant to die, I'm meant to die. And if I'm meant to stay, I'm meant to stay. And then when I did survive, it was this element of, okay, well, I'm here for a reason. So let me really open myself up to whatever I'm here for. And that is when things came through. It was like that portal had opened, and now more and more things are just coming in, because I'm just like, okay, whatever's meant to come in will come in, and I'm just going to honor it as it does. So yeah, it's magic. It's been,
Amazing.
and it's beautiful. I feel more like myself than I ever have. So I'm really grateful for it, because it was perfect timing. Because I think if this would have dropped in a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been ready. It would have been too much for me. Yeah.
Wow, this is so inspiring. Thank you so, so much for sharing
Yeah, you
and for this
too.
whole conversation. You got me even more curious now, and I want to know more about human design. And I'm going to check all my friends and all my family now.
Yeah. Gonna have like a
Because it's good
board.
to know.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, and that's what I did with Enneagram typology. And I feel like this was like a manual for
Mm,
humans for me. So I really love these kind of different typologies and
yeah,
checking them out and how they play together and everything. So thank you so much for
you're
everything
so
that you shared,
welcome.
because for me, it just sparked my curiosity even more. And I'm sure for our listeners as well.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me on here so I can share this wisdom as well.
Thank you so much for tuning in and being with me and Bethany today. And if you'd like to find her, her Instagram profile is Karma and Kindness. And if you'd like to find me, I am The Connection Catalyst on Instagram. So I'm super grateful that you listened to us, and I hope that your curiosity is sparked as well. And stay tuned to the next episode.